3, 2, 1, go! check, 1, 2. Mic check, hello. Hello to the people. Hello to the people. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me. Everybody's showing up, but looks like we're slated to start late. So what we're covering, the UN address. U.S. President Donald Trump will address the United Nations General Assembly today and meet multiple counterparts on the sidelines of the event. War in Gaza. Trump's administration has become increasingly isolated in its position on Israel's war in Gaza, while a growing number of countries have recognized a Palestinian state and denounced Israel's actions in the enclave. The U.S. has provided its ally with consistent political cover and military support. You don't say. Funding cuts. Trump's appearance at the UN comes as his administration has moved to slash hundreds of millions of dollars in funding for the Intergovernmental Organization. If it's all talk about the two-state solution, I'm probably going to call it early. Secret Service dismantles telecom network threatening officials ahead of UN General Assembly.
1997. Please take your seat. I now give the floor to the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Antonio Guterres.
Yeah, it's about time. We're behind schedule. Who was late? Maybe it's the assembly itself that's late. We don't know. Who knows? Oh, this green background. I forgot that this was actually in New York. They've been doing stuff here for days.
Please, could you take your seats?
Macron.
Let me begin with two words we have not been able to say often enough in this hall.
Yeah, Macron.
Madam President.
Madam President.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. 8 years ago, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. 8 years ago, in a world
Now we can
scorched
see
by
the spots
war,
on his face.
leaders made a choice.
Sorry.
Cooperation over chaos, law over lawlessness, peace over conflict. And that choice gave birth to the United Nations, not as a dream for perfection, but as a practical strategy for the survival of humanity. Many of our founders had seen firsthand the hell of the death camps and the terror of war. They knew that true leadership meant creating a system to prevent a replay of those horrors, a firewall against the flames of conflict and World War III, a forum for sovereign states to pursue dialogue and cooperation, and a concrete affirmation of an essential human truth: we are all in this together.
What if his tie was just like a pattern of all the different corporations in the BDS list?
And this General Assembly Hall is the heartbeat of that truth. It is why for decades world leaders have come to this one-of-a-kind podium. It is why you are here today. Because at its best, international, a lifeline for people in crisis, a lighthouse for human rights, and a center that transforms your decisions, the decisions of member states, into action. 80 years on, we confront again the question our founders faced, only more urgent, more intertwined, more unforgiving.
I don't have a ton of high hopes for this. I just happened to catch it live right as it started to start. And the United States is going to be one of the first speakers. Trump is going to be speaking like probably first after the UN intro and stuff. I imagine all of it's just going to be a lot of fart sniffing about a two-state solution, and I'm gonna skip past that. I don't want to be around for when world leaders are morally grandstanding about how they recognize a Palestinian state now that Gaza has been completely destroyed and an ethnic cleansing and war of extermination has already taken place for 2 years. So no, I'm not going to be sticking around for when they're finally going to talk about a two-state solution. No.
Or a world of rights for all. Excellencies, our world is becoming increasingly multipolar, and this is positive.
A single state with equal rights is the only way forward. It's the only way. And that single state being Palestine.
Chaos, as Europe has learned the hard way, resulting in World War I.
This is a lot of fart sniffing. He's just talking about how the UN has been a bastion for peace and the vanguard of world stability. Yeah, fucking right.
Is an illusion. No country can stop a pandemic alone. No army can halt rising temperatures. No algorithm can reveal trust once it is broken. These are global stress tests of our system, our solidarity, and our resolve. I'm convinced we can pass these tests, and we must. Because people everywhere are demanding something better, and we owe them a system worthy of their trust and a future worthy of their dreams. And so we must make the choice, an active choice, to reaffirm the imperative of international law, to reassert the centrality of multilateralism, to reinforce justice
The
and human
representative
rights,
of the state of Palestine
and
is
to
watching
recommit
with the
to
most
principles
dead eyes
that
I've ever
gave
seen.
rise to our organization, and to the promise contained in its first words, we the peoples. Excellencies, the choices we face are not part of an ideological debate. They are a matter of life and death for millions. As I scan the global landscape, we must make 5 critical choices. First, we must choose peace rooted in international law. Peace is our first obligation. Yet today, wars rage with a barbarity we vowed never to allow. Too often, the Charter is brandished when convenient and trampled when not. But the Charter is not optional. It is our foundation. And when the foundation cracks, everything built upon fractures. Around the world, we see countries acting as if the rules don't apply to them. We see humans treated as less than human, and we must call it out. Impunity is the mother of chaos, and it has spawned some of the most atrocious conflicts of our times. In Sudan, civilians are being slaughtered, starved, and silenced. Women and girls face unspeakable violence. There is no military solution. I urge all parties, including those in this hall, end the external support that is fueling this bloodshed. Push to protect civilians, because the Sudanese people deserve peace, dignity, and hope.
I'm gonna hang my
Today,
flag from the rafters instead
relentless
of
violence continues
have
to
it be
kill
so
civilians,
far behind me in the background.
destroy civilian infrastructure, and threaten global. Recent diplomatic efforts by the United States and others, we must work for a full ceasefire and a just, lasting peace in accordance with the Charter, UN resolutions, and international law. In Gaza, the horrors are approaching a third monstrous year. They are the result of decisions that defy basic humanity. The scale of death and destruction are beyond any other conflict in my years as Secretary General. The International Court of Justice has issued legally binding provisional measures in the case named Application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in the Gaza Strip. Since then, a famine has been declared and the killing has intensified. The measures stipulated by the ICJ must be implemented fully and immediately. Nothing can justify the horrific Hamas terror attacks of October 7 and taking of hostages, those of which I have repeatedly condemned. And nothing can justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people and the systematic destruction of Gaza. We know what is needed. Permanent ceasefire now. All the hostages released now. Full humanitarian access now. And we must not relent in the only viable answer to sustainable Middle East peace, a two-state solution as so eloquently reaffirmed yesterday. We must urgently reverse dangerous trends on the ground. Relentless settler expansion and violence, and the looming threat of annexation must stop. Everywhere, from Haiti to Yemen, to Myanmar and the Sahel and beyond, we must choose peace anchored in international law. The past year has brought glimmers of hope, including the ceasefire between Cambodia and Thailand, and the agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia brokered by the United States. But far too many crises continue unchecked. Impunity prevails, lawlessness is a contagion, it invites mayhem, accelerates terror, and risks a nuclear free-for-all. When accountability shrinks, graveyards grow. When UN staff and facilities are attacked, violating legal obligations, so too is the core of our ability to serve and deliver. The Security Council must live up to its responsibilities. It must be more representative, more transparent, and more effective. Beyond crisis response, we must tackle the injustices that ignite conflict: exclusion, inequality, impunity, and corruption. The surest way to silence the guns is to raise the volume for justice. Real security is born of fairness and opportunity for all.
Excellencies, this leads me to my second point. We must choose human dignity and human rights. Human rights are not an ornament of peace, they're its bedrock. Human rights, economic, social, cultural, political, and civil, are universal, indivisible, and interdependent. Choosing rights means more than words. It means choosing justice over silence. It means protecting freedom and civic space, advancing equality for women and girls, confronting racism and discrimination in all its forms, protecting human rights defenders, journalists, and freedom of speech, and upholding the rights of refugees and migrants so that mobility is safe and in accordance with international law. Human rights are a daily battle, online and offline. They require political will. But dignity is not only about the protection of rights. It is about rights fulfilled through inclusive and resilient development. Rights that put an end to poverty and hunger. Rights that open doors to education, health, and opportunity. The Sustainable Development Goals are our shared roadmap for achieving these rights. But in order to make progress down this road, we need fuel. And that fuel is finance. We've seen what development done right can deliver. In the past decade, millions more have gained access to electricity, clean cooking solutions, and to the internet. Child marriage is in retreat. Women's representation is growing, but cuts to aid are wreaking havoc. They are a death sentence for many. For so many more, a stolen future. This is the great paradox of our time. We have the solutions, but we are siphoning off the fuel that would make it possible to make progress. To choose dignity, we must choose financial justice and solidarity. We need to reform the international financial architecture so that it drives development for all. With bigger and bolder multilateral development banks, lending more, and mobilizing more private capital for developing countries, with faster and fairer debt relief mechanisms, helping every country in crisis, including middle-income countries. Protecting natural resources by tackling illicit financial flows and abusive tax practices that rob societies of their future. And global financial institutions that represent today's world, with far greater participation of developing countries in terms of their composition and their decision-making. So let us choose a global economy that works for everyone, men and women. Let us choose human rights and dignity. And let us equip ourselves with the means to ensure a transition for people and the planet. Excellencies, this brings me to the third choice. We must choose climate justice. The climate crisis is accelerating. But so are the solutions. The clean energy future is no longer a distant promise. It's already here. No government, industry, or special interest can stop it. But some are trying, hurting economies, locking in higher prices, and squandering a historic opportunity.
Fossil fuels are a losing bet. Last year, almost all new power capacity came from renewables, and the investment is surging. Renewables are the cheapest and fastest source of new power. They create jobs, drive growth, shield economies from volatile oil and gas markets, connect the unconnected, and can free us from the tyranny of fossil fuels. But not at today's pace. Clean energy investment remains uneven. 21st century grids and storage are not rolling out fast enough. And public subsidies, taking from taxpayer money, still flow to fossil fuels over clean energy by a factor of 9 to 1. Meanwhile, emissions, temperatures, and disasters keep rising. And those least responsible suffer the most. Science says limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees by the end of this century is still possible, but the window is closing. The International Court of Justice has affirmed the legal obligation of states. We must step up action and ambition, especially through strengthened national climate plans. Tomorrow, I will welcome leaders to announce new targets. The G20, the biggest emitters, must lead, guided by common but differentiated responsibilities. But all countries must step up and do more as we head to the UN Climate Conference in Brazil. By accelerating action in energy, forests, methane, and industrial decarbonization. By defining a credible roadmap to mobilize $1.3 trillion annually in climate finance by 2035 for developing countries. By supporting just transitions, by doubling finance for adaptation to at least $40 billion this year, and rapidly deploying proven tools to unlock billions more in concessional finance. And by capitalizing the Loss and Damage Fund with significant contributions. All of these requires government, international financial institutions, philanthropies, civil society, and the private sector to work together, to provide fiscal space to developing countries, and unlock new innovative sources of finance at scale, including solidarity levies on high-emitting sectors and debt swaps. We have the solutions and tools, but we must choose climate justice and climate action. Fourth, we must choose to put technology at the service of humanity. Artificial intelligence is rewriting human existence in real time, transforming how we learn, work, communicate, and what we can trust. And the question is not how to stop it, but how to steer it for the greater good. Technology must be our servant, not our master. It must promote human rights, human dignity, and human agency. Yet today, AI's advancement in outpacing regulation and responsibility and is concentrated in a few hands. And the risks are expanding to new frontiers, from biotech to autonomous weapons. We are witnessing the rise of tools for mass surveillance, mass social control, mass disruption, and even mass destruction. Tools that can drain energy, strain ecosystems, and intensify the race for critical minerals, potentially stoking instability and conflict. Yet, these technologies remain largely ungoverned. We need universal guardrails and common standards across platforms. No company should be above the law. No machines should decide who lives or dies. No system should be deployed without transparency, safety, and accountability. Last month, this Assembly took a historic step, establishing an independent international scientific panel on AI and an annual global dialogue on AI governance. Two new pillars of a shared architecture, connecting science with policy to bring.
At Wayfair, ordering in delivers all the style.
And close the capacity gap. All countries must be able to design and develop AI, not just to consume it. I have proposed voluntary financing options to build AI computing power, data, and skills in developing nations.
Years, the United States has been the UN's largest funder and a key partner in many of its peacekeeping and humanitarian missions. But now that pivotal U.S. role is at risk after the Trump administration this year moved to cut hundreds of millions of dollars in support. For more on what this means for the UN's future, I sat down with its Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. Mr. Secretary General, welcome.
It's a great pleasure to be with you again.
So tell me, this session of the General Assembly, you have a situation where some countries do not seem to have received visas for some of their delegates, so it's still a little murky. The United States is threatening to withhold hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. The part about the budget cuts that probably have a very clear impact is the reduction in the budget for peacekeeping operations. First, explain to us what are these operations and what would be the effect of American cuts?
We have operations in Central African Republic, in South Sudan, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Lebanon, in Cyprus, in many parts of the world. And many of these operations have an important role in the protection of civilians because, unfortunately, we have peacekeeping operations where there is no peace to keep. And so, obviously, a drastic reduction of peacekeeping operations will have a very negative impact in countries that are still in mandates more effectively and efficiently with greater impact, and ideas to spark a paradigm shift in the structure of the UN and how its parts work together. Most of these decisions rest with you, the Member States, and we will move forward in full respect of the established procedures. Together, let us choose to invest in a United Nations that adapts, innovates, as is empowered to deliver for people everywhere. Excellencies, my overriding message comes down to this. Now is the time to choose. It's not enough to know what the right choices are. I urge you to make them. I grew up in a world where choices were few. I was raised in the darkness of dictatorship, where fear silenced voices and hope was nearly crushed. Yet, even the bleakest hours, especially then, I discovered a truth that has never left me. Power does not reside in the hands of those who dominate or divide. Real power resides from people, from our shared resolve to uphold dignity, to defend equality, to believe fiercely in our common humanity and the potential of every human being. I learned early to persevere, to speak out, to refuse to surrender, no matter the challenge, no matter the obstacle, no matter the hour. We must and we will overcome. Because in a world of many choices, there is one choice we must never make. the choice to give up. We must never give up. That is my promise to you, for peace, for dignity, for justice, for humanity, for the world we know is possible when we work as one. I will never, ever give up. Thank you.
I thank the Secretary General. The Assembly will now turn to Agenda Item 8, entitled General Debate. "80 years. Longer than the average human life. This anniversary of the United Nations should have been a moment of celebration. But this is not an ordinary year. Just look at the state of our world, as the Secretary General described. Thousands of orphans in Gaza are wandering around the rubble, eating sand, drinking contaminated water. 90-year-old women in Ukraine are hiding from drones, trapped in their homes instead of living their final years in peace. Children in Haiti, too afraid to walk to school, afraid they might be gunned down by gangs like their friends. And for every conflict and tragedy that seizes the headlines, there are so many more that are forgotten, lost to the news cycle. Like women in Democratic Republic of the Congo, shielding their daughters from armed groups, fearful they might be raped. And Rohingya children, spending their whole childhood in tattered tents, unable to remember what their home looks like. Faced with these realities, now is not the time to celebrate, but to ask ourselves, where is the United Nations? Distinguished heads of state and government, Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, people out there in the world watching us. Clearly, we have to do better. But what we should not let cynics allow to weaponize these failures, to argue that our institution is a waste of money, outdated, irrelevant. When the principles of the Charter are ignored, is it the UN that has failed? When tanks rolled into Ukraine, was it because Article 2 of the Charter is not clear enough about sovereignty and territorial integrity? When civilians, children, are killed in Gaza, is it humanitarian law at fault for failing to protect them? It's not the Charter which fails. It's not the UN as an institution which fails. The Charter, our Charter, is only as strong as member states' willingness to uphold it, and their willingness to hold to account those who violate it. Excellencies, yes, our world is in pain. Yes, we have failures. But imagine how much worse would it be without the United Nations? Would a single person be better off without it? Without UNICEF? 26 million children would not have received an education. Without the World Food Programme, nearly 125 million people would have lacked life-saving food assistance. Without the World Health Organization, over 1 billion vaccines would not have been supplied. Sometimes we could have done more, but we cannot let this dishearten us. If we stop doing the right thing, evil would prevail. This 80th session is not about big celebrations. It's about finding the resolve not to give up, the resolve to be better together, just as our predecessors did 8 decades ago. This institution was born in a world on fire and desperate for reprieve. 750 million, nearly a third of humanity back then, still under colonial rule. 2 world wars in a generation, 70 million dead. The horrors of the Holocaust revealed to our collective shame. This was a generation that knew almost nothing but suffering and despair. The signing of the Charter in 1945 gave hope to millions, gave us a North Star that guided our path from the ashes of war, helped guide nations from colonial rule into independent states, helped end apartheid. Across the decades, the United Nations has been a compass pointing toward peace, humanity, and justice. We have not always succeeded, but the story of this institution is not a story of easy victories. It's a story of falling and rising, of pulling ourselves and each other back up and trying harder. We gather here for the 80th time, not for empty celebration, not out of ritual, not to hear our own voices. We gather to prove that this institution matters, and that through this institution, every nation represented here, no matter how big or small, can summon again the strength and unity first shown in San Francisco 80 years ago. The courage and resolve of world leaders, who even while some called them back then naive, believed they could build a better world from the wreckage of the old. They showed then what true leadership is. It's not about imposing your will or putting others down. True leadership is about lifting others up, not out of altruism, but for our mutual benefit, and even out of our self-interest. Because as our founders and every architect of peace since then has understood, helping others is what makes ultimately our own countries stronger. Could any state have faced the global pandemic alone? The virus did not have any passport. We were only able to solve it at the end with the support of the World Health Organization. The climate crisis does not stop at borders. CO2 emissions anywhere affect people everywhere. Even the wealthiest cities in the world cannot shield themselves from wildfires. And imagine coming here by plane. How safe would you feel to step into the next airplane if there were no International Civil Aviation Organization anymore, which is responsible for setting safety regulations for 5 billion passengers each year? How comfortable would you be with your children using the internet while AI is uncontrolled and unchecked? As the lines between what is real and fake start to blur. In this globalized, digitalized world, we work together or we suffer alone. Excellencies, the theme of this milestone
That was a very
session
funny
and the
cut
high-level
over to the
week
United
is
States
therefore
people.
Better together. 80 years
Talking
and
about
more
deregulation.
for peace, development, and human rights. Will living up to that be easy? No. But this hall was not built for easy times. It was built to come together to confront the hardest topics. This session is a session where the high-level week is about resolving differences. We showed some of it yesterday already. But even the house of dialogue and diplomacy needs a renovation. That is why the UN80 initiative and the wider reform process are not luxuries, but necessities. We are literally now at a crossroads, a make it or break it moment, politically, financially. Therefore, we have to deliver a United Nations that is agile, cost-effective, and fit for purpose. Member States have to give the Secretary General and this process their full support, because reform cannot stop in New York. It must carry through to every capital. That includes delivering the Pact for the Future and accelerating progress on the Sustainable Development Goals. Again, this is not about charity. It's about addressing the core purposes of this institution, about strengthening our foundations across all three pillars: peace and security, human rights, and sustainable development. They are inseparable. Leaving hundreds of millions trapped in extreme poverty, vulnerable to crisis, and denied their human rights is not only a moral failure, it's a recipe for global unrest, terrorism, and the tragic waste of humanity's greatest resource, its people. Put it simply, without the SDGs, there cannot be lasting peace. Excellencies, our future as an institution will also be shaped by the selection of the next Secretary General. And here we must pause and reflect. In nearly 80 years, this organization has never chosen a woman for that role. One might wonder how out of 4 billion potential candidates, there could not be found a single one. Of course, the choice rests with member states. But those of you having been there yesterday celebrating Beijing, one strong female leader after the other from all our continents. Like 80 years ago, we are standing at a crossroads. And it's up to us, to every single member state, to live up to the same leadership as your predecessors did, to act when action is needed, to uphold the principles of our Charter, to be better together, to show the people around the world that this United Nation is there, today, tomorrow, and for the next 8 decades. Because, after all, it's the life insurance for every country. Before giving the floor to the first speaker for this morning, I would like to remind member states that the list of speakers for the general debate has been established on the agreed basis that statements should be no longer than 15 minutes to enable all the speakers to be heard at a given meeting. Within this time frame, I would like to appeal to speakers to deliver their statements at a reasonable pace so that interpretation into the other official languages may be provided properly. I would also like to draw your attention to the decision taken by the Assembly at previous sessions, namely that the practice of expressing congratulations inside the Assembly Hall after speech has been delivered is strongly discouraged. After delivering their statements from the rostrum, speakers are invited to exit the hall through room JA200, located behind the podium, before returning to their seats. May I take it that the Assembly agrees to proceed in this manner? It's so decided. Finally, I should like to draw the attention of Member States that during the general debate, official photographers are in the room and will take official photographs of all speakers by the Department of Global Communications. Members interested in obtaining these photographs are requested to contact the Photo Library of the United Nations. By this, the Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, President of the Federative Republic of Brazil. I request the protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the Assembly.
All right, first up, President Lula.
Madam President of the General Assembly, Annalena Baerbock, Mr. Secretary General Antonio Guterres, dear heads of state and government, and representatives of the member states gathered here. This should be a time to celebrate the United Nations. Created at the end of the war, the UN symbolizes the highest expression of the aspiration for peace and prosperity. Today, however, the ideals that inspired its founders in San Francisco are under threat as never before in their history. Multilateralism is at a new crossroads. The organization's authority is in check. We are witnessing the consolidation of an international order marked by repeated concessions to power play. Attacks on sovereignty, arbitrary sanctions, and unilateral interventions are becoming the rule. There is a clear parallel between the multilateralism crisis and the weakening of democracy. Authoritarianism is strengthened when we fail to act in the face of arbitrary acts, when the international society falters in defending peace, sovereignty, and the rule of law. The consequences are tragic. Throughout the world, anti-democratic forces are trying to subjugate institutions and stifle freedoms. They worship violence, praise ignorance, act as physical and digital militias, and restrict the press. Even under an unprecedented attack, Brazil chose to resist and defend its democracy, regained 40 years ago by its people after 2 decades of dictatorial governments. There is no justification for unilateral and arbitrary measures against our institutions and our economy. The aggression against the independence of the judiciary branch of power is unacceptable. This interference in domestic affairs is aided by a subservient far right who is nostalgic of past hegemonies. False patriots plan and publicly promote actions against Brazil. Peace cannot be achieved with impunity. A few days ago, and for the first time in 525 years of our history, a former head of state was convicted of attacking the democratic rule of law. He was investigated, indicted, trialed, and held accountable for his actions in a meticulous process. He has the right to defend himself was secured, a prerogative that dictatorships deny to their victims. Before the eyes of the world, Brazil sent a message to all aspiring autocrats and those who support them. Our democracy, our sovereignty are non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. Okay.
We will continue as an independent nation and as a people free from any type of guardianship.
Not the best translator.
Sound democracies go beyond the electoral ritual. Its strength presupposes the reduction of inequalities, the guarantee of the most basic rights: food, safety, work, housing, education, and health. Democracy fails when women earn less than men or die at the hands of partners and family members. It loses when it closes its doors and blames migrants for the world's ills. Poverty is as much an enemy of democracy as extremism. Therefore, we were proud to receive confirmation from FAO that Brazil has once again left the hunger map in this year, 2025. But in the world, there are still 670 million hungry people, and about 2.3 billion face food insecurity. The only war of which everyone can emerge victorious is the one we wage against hunger and poverty. This is the goal of the global alliance we launched at the G20 and which has the support of 103 countries. The international community needs to revise its priorities, reduce arms spending, and increase development aid. Relieve the service of the foreign debt of the poorest countries, above all African nations, and set minimum global tax standards so that the super rich pay more taxes than workers. Democracy is also measured by the ability to protect families and the childhood. Digital platforms offer possibilities for us to come together.
You know, this President Lula guy seems to have some pretty good ideas. Seems pretty cool.
Misogyny, xenophobia, and misinformation. The internet cannot be a land of lawlessness. It's up to governments to protect the most vulnerable. Regulating does not mean restraining freedom of expression. It's about ensuring that what is already illegal in the real world is treated the way in the virtual environment. Attacks on regulation serve to cover up hidden interests and provide shelter for crimes such as fraud, human trafficking, pedophilia, and attacks against democracy. The Brazilian parliament was right to rush to address this issue. Last week, I proudly enacted one of the world's most advanced laws for the protection of children and adolescents in the digital environment. Also, we sent draft bills to the National Congress to foster competition in digital markets and to encourage the installation of sustainable data centers.
Lula's taking a drink of water. Clear your throat, translator.
To mitigate the risks of artificial intelligence, we are committed to building multilateral governance in line with the Global Digital Compact that was approved in this plenary last year. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, in Latin America and the Caribbean, we are experiencing a time of growing polarization and instability. Maintaining the region as a zone of peace is and was our priority. We are a continent free of weapons of mass destruction, without ethnic or religious conflicts. The comparison between crime and terrorism is worrying. The most effective way to combat drug trafficking is to cooperate to suppress money laundering and limit arms trade. Using lethal force in situations that do not constitute armed conflict is tantamount to executing people without trial. Other parts of the planet have already witnessed interventions that cause greater damage than intended, with serious humanitarian consequences. The path to dialogue must not be closed in Venezuela. Haiti has the right to a violence-free future, and it is unacceptable that Cuba be listed as a country that sponsors terrorism. In the conflict in Ukraine, we all already know that there will be no military solution. The recent meeting in Alaska raised hopes for a negotiated way out. It's necessary to pave the way for a realistic solution.
Trump's about to suck all the positive energy out of this
room.
room.
Into account the legitimate security concerns of all parties. The African Initiative and the Friends for Peace group created by China and Brazil can help promote dialogue and a diplomatic solution. No situation is more emblematic of the disproportionate and illegal use of force than the one occurring in Palestine. The terrorist attacks perpetrated by Hamas are indefensible from any angle, but nothing, absolutely nothing, justifies the ongoing genocide in Gaza. There, under tons of rubble, are buried tens of thousands of innocent women and children. There, we can see that international humanitarian law and the myth of ethical exceptionalism of the West are also being buried there. This massacre would not have happened without the complicity of those who could have...
You know what else is buried under the rubble in Gaza? American exceptionalism. Oh, damn.
Prevented it. In Gaza, hunger is used as a weapon of war, and the forced displacement of populations goes on unpunished. I express my admirations to the Jews who, inside and outside Israel, oppose this collective punishment. The Palestinian people are at risk of disappearing. They will only survive with an independent state integrated to the international community. This is the solution defended by more than 150 UN members, reaffirmed yesterday here in this very plenary, but bared by a single veto. It is regrettable that President Mahmoud Abbas was prevented by the host country of occupying the Palestinian bench at this historical moment. The spread of this conflict to Lebanon, Syria, Iran, Qatar is fueling an unprecedented arms build-up. Madam President, bombs and nuclear weapons will not protect us from the climate crisis. The year of 24 was the warmest already registered. COP30 in the city of Belém, Brazil, will the cope of truth. It will be the time for world leaders to prove the seriousness of their commitment to the planet. Without a complete picture of the NDC's nationally determined contributions, we were walking blindfolded towards the abyss. Brazil has committed to reducing its emissions by 59 and 67%, covering all greenhouse gases and all sectors of the economy. Developing nations face climate change while grappling with other challenges. Meanwhile, rich countries enjoy a standard of living reached at the expense of 200 years of greenhouse gas emissions, demanding greater ambition and greater access to resources and technology. It's not a matter of charity, but of justice. The race for critical minerals essential for energy transition cannot reproduce the predatory and asymmetrical logic that has characterized recent centuries. In Belém City, the world will learn about the reality of the Amazon. Brazil has already reduced deforestation by half in the region in the last 2 years. Eradicating it requires ensuring decent living conditions for its millions of inhabitants. Promoting sustainable development is the objective of the Tropical Forest Forever facility, which Brazil intends to launch to compensate countries that keep their forests standing. But the time has come to move from the negotiation phase to the implementation stage. The world owes a lot to the regime created by the Climate Convention. Climate change needs to be brought to the heart of the UN so that it gets the attention it deserves. A council linked to the General Assembly with the power and legitimacy to monitor commitments provide coherence to climate action. This is a fundamental step towards a broader reform of the organization, which would also include an expanded Security Council in the 2 member categories. Few areas have worsened as much as the multilateral trading system. Unilateral measures have rendered fundamental principles, such as the most favored nations clauses, meaningless. They have disrupted value chains and threw the global economy into a pernicious spiral of high prices and stagnation. It is urgent to refound the WTO based on modern and flexible foundations. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this year, the world lost 2 exceptional public figures. Former Uruguayan President Pepe Mujica and our dear Pope Francis. Both embodied the best humanist values like no other. Their lives were intertwined with the 8 decades of the UN's existence. If they were still among us, they would use this platform to remember that authoritarianism, environmental degradation, and inequality are not relentless, that the only ones defeated are those who stand idly by, resignate, and that we can defeat the false prophets and oligarchs who exploit fear and monetize hate, and that tomorrow is made of daily choices, and it takes courage to act to transform it. In the future that Brazil envisions, there is no room for the reenactment of ideological rivalries or spheres of influence. Confrontation is not inevitable. We need leaders with clear visions who understand that the international order is not a zero-sum game. The 21st century will be increasingly multipolar. For it to remain peaceful, it cannot fall to multilateral. Brazil is giving increasing importance to the European Union, the African Union, ASEAN, CELAC, BRICS, and the G20. The voice of the Global South must be heard. The UN has today almost 4 times more members than the 51 who were at its foundation. Our historic mission is to make it once again a barrier of hope and a promoter of equality, peace, sustainable development, diversity, and tolerance. May God bless us all. And thank you very much.
Alright. His Excellency Lula. Now it's time for His Excellency.
On behalf of
President
the
Donald
Assembly, I
Trump.
wish to thank the President of the Federative Republic of Brazil,
He's like, mute yourself, don't forget. Alright, next victim. Usually there's a person who comes out and does like a height check, who's the same height as the president, and they'll raise and lower the prompters, make sure the speech is put there and everything.
the Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Donald Trump, President of the United States
see him
of
in the
America. I request protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the
Here's his
Assembly.
arm. Oh wait, that was someone else. Here he is. To a smattering of applause. You don't have to stand there first, you can just go straight up to the podium.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated.
He's nervous.
And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter.
Oh,
Because
wow.
the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless. And that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
Uh-huh.
Hello, Madam First Lady.
It's not a stand-up bit,
Thank you
dude.
very much
Come on, man.
for being here. And Madam President,
You're
Mr.
responsible for
Secretary
genocide.
General, First Lady of the United
Let's
States,
keep it going.
distinguished delegates, ambassadors, and world leaders.
Keep it moving.
6 years have passed since I last stood in this grand hall and addressed a world that was prosperous and at peace in my first term. Since that day, the guns of war have shattered the peace I forged on 2 continents. An era of calm and stability
Oh,
gave
you
way
forged.
to one of the
You're
great
standing in the way
crises
of global
our time.
peace, moron.
And here in the United States, 4 years of weakness, lawlessness, and radicalism under the last administration delivered our nation into a repeated set of disasters. 1 year ago, our country was in deep trouble, but today, just 8 months into my administration, we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, and there is no other country even close. America is blessed with the strongest economy, the strongest borders, the strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation.
We get it, you're
On
the
the face
strongest.
of the earth.
This is not what we're here to talk
This
about.
is indeed the golden age of America. We are rapidly reversing the economic calamity that we inherited from
Marco Rubio looks
the previous
dead
administration,
inside as
including
usual.
ruinous price increases and record-setting inflation. Inflation like we've never had before. Under my leadership, energy costs are down, gasoline prices are down, grocery prices are down, mortgage rates
Famine in
are
Gaza.
down, and inflation has been defeated. The only thing that's up is the stock market, which just hit a record high. In fact, it hit a record high.
We're talking about
48
world
times
hunger
in the last
here.
short period of time. Growth is surging, manufacturing is booming. The stock market, as I said,
Killing
is doing better than
time.
it's ever done. And all of you in this room benefit by that. Almost everybody. And importantly, workers' wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than 60 years.
I
And
feel
that's
like
what it's all
speechwriters are
about,
doing them
isn't it?
dirty. They
In
were just
4
talking
years
about
of
world hunger, bro.
President Biden, we had less than $1 trillion of new investment into the United States. In just 8 months since I took office, we have secured commitments and money already paid for $17 trillion. Think of it, 4 years, less than $1 trillion, 8
Think of it.
months, much more than
Are you
$17
thinking
trillion
of it yet?
is being invested in the United States, and it's now pouring in from all parts of the world. We've implemented the largest tax cuts in American history and the largest regulation cuts in American history.
Your H-1B visa bullshit alone is keeping people from coming to America.
And it's turned out to be an awfully good investment during this 8-month period. In my first term, I built the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had the best economy ever, history of the world. And I'm doing the same thing again, but this time
Best
it's actually much
history of the
bigger.
world.
and even better.
It's so
The
great.
numbers far surpass my record-setting.
It's so
First term.
tremendous.
On our southern border, we have successfully repelled a colossal invasion, and for the last 4 months, and that's 4 months in a row, the number of illegal aliens admitted and entering our country has been 0. Hard to believe,
Jesus.
because if you look back just a year ago, it was millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, from prisons, from mental institutions, drug dealers. All over the world they came. They just poured into our country with the ridiculous open border policy of the Biden administration. Our message is very simple. If you come illegally into the United States, you're going to jail, or you're going back to where you came from,
Gross.
or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means. I
What
want to
does that
thank the
mean?
country of El Salvador for the successful and professional job they've
Dude.
done in receiving and jailing so many criminals that entered our country.
Openly threatening to send someone to a country of not their origin because they have illegally entered the United States. That's a crime against humanity, right?
And it was under the previous administration that the number became record-setting, and they're all being taken out. You have no choice. And other countries have no choice, because other countries are in the exact same situation with immigration. It's destroying your country, and you have to do something about it. On the world stage, America is respected again like it has never been respected before.
Oh, wow.
You think
If you
about
say so, I mean,
2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or 1 year ago, we were a laughingstock all over the world.
still are.
At the NATO summit in June, virtually all NATO members formally committed to increase defense spending, at my request, from 2% to 5% of GDP, making our alliance far stronger and more powerful than it was ever before. In May,
still
I
more than
traveled to
doubling
the
it.
Middle East to visit my friends and rebuild our partnerships in the Gulf and those valued relationships with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, and other countries are now, I believe, closer than ever before. My administration has negotiated one historic trade deal after another, including with the United Kingdom, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, and many, many others. Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 Unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to
really?
get them solved. Some were going
Name them.
for 31 years. Two of them. 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years.
Name them.
I ended 7 wars. And
Name one.
in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand,
Oh, peace
Kosovo
in
and Serbia,
Cambodia and peace in
the
Thailand.
Congo
Peace
and
in the
Rwanda,
Congo.
a
And
vicious,
Rwanda.
violent war that was. Pakistan and India.
Oh, Pakistan
Israel
and
and
India
Iran.
are still pissed. And any peace brokered between them was done without you, bro.
Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. It included
You were pronouncing Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan, or whatever the fuck you were saying before.
of them.
Fucking
No president or
dope.
prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. I'm very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them.
Oh, yeah? That's rich. All you have to do is pick up the phone, and the war on Gaza will be over. You can pick up the phone and a genocide will be over, and they might even give you credit for it. Because it wasn't started in your administration. But no. Trump just doesn't know how to take a dub when it's served to him on a silver platter. On a gilded platter.
And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one
Yeah,
of
say you
these
ended 7
countries.
wars
I never
again.
even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood.
Cringe.
And then a teleprompter that didn't work.
You're not gonna...
These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. Just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier.
God, I hate him so much.
Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there.
I've said presidents are
Thought of it really after
annoying.
the fact, not during.
I've said
Not
they're
during these negotiations,
inconsistent,
which are not easy.
liars,
That being the case,
criminals.
what is the purpose of the
But I
United
hate
Nations?
this motherfucker,
The UN
dude.
has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential.
Tremendous,
But
tremendous
it's not even coming
potential.
close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words.
Does anyone
and
know
empty
what he's
words
talking
don't
about?
Solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action. Now, after
Oh, that's
ending all
rich.
of these wars and also earlier
In action, like picking up the phone,
negotiating the Abraham Accords, which is a very
calling Netanyahu.
big thing for which our country received no credit, never receives credit. Everyone
Good.
says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize.
Please let it get more unhinged as this goes on. Let this be just an incredible stain on the United States. It already is.
Will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars.
Oh, yeah. The problem was that the wars weren't fast and glorious enough.
What I care about is not winning prizes, it's saving lives. We saved millions and millions of lives with the 7.
Oof.
wars. And we have others that we're working on, and you know that. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It'd be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you Marlboro floors.
Marlboro floors.
I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls.
The Marlboros are gone, bro.
But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong. And
He's talking about real estate and renovations as if it's like world policy, as if it's like some kind of diplomacy that he's talking about. What the fuck, bro? No one cares about what you were planning on doing with this building when you were in real estate. What the fuck? He's basically like, yeah, the United States is, or the United Nations is useless, and, to be quite honest, I had different plans for this building. The fuck?
Proposing to build was so bad and so costly. It was going to cost them a fortune. And I said, and wait till you see the overruns. Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns and spent between $2 and $4 billion on the building and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm concerned,
who cares?
Frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job. They still haven't finished.
Wow, there's not a person in this room that doesn't think you're a fool, bro. Every single person in this room is laughing at you, not with you, bro. Your entire entourage is embarrassed. Put the camera on the two guards flanking him.
The project was so corrupt that Congress actually asked me
I'd
to
love to see them try to keep a straight face through this
them
horse shit.
on the tremendous waste of money, because it turned out that they had no idea what it was, but they knew it was anywhere between.
Is there commotion in the audience right now? Please put a mic on them.
With a guarantee. But they had no idea, and I said it cost much more than $5 billion. Unfortunately, many things in the United Nations are happening just like that.
Who let this motherfucker up here? No prompter. God damn it.
But on an even much bigger scale.
Grandpa needs to go to bed already. It's not even 11 a.m.
Whether the UN can manage to play a productive role.
What time is it in New York?
I'm here today to offer the hand of American leadership and friendship to any nation in this assembly that is willing to join us in forging a safer, more prosperous world. And it's a world that we'll be much happier with. A dramatically better future is within our reach. But to get there, we must reject the failed approaches of the past and work together to confront some of the greatest threats in history. There is no more serious danger to our planet today than...
Is the prompter working again or something? But look at everyone's faces. It's like, from what you can tell, people are like, eesh. There's the First Lady. Where's everyone else that was supposed to show up?
The most powerful and destructive weapons ever devised by man, of which the United States, as you know, has many.
A lot of empty seats for the United States. What's going on there?
Containing these threats a top priority, starting with the nation of Iran. My position is very simple. The world's #1 sponsor of terror can never be allowed to possess the most dangerous weapon. That's why shortly after taking office, I sent the so-called Supreme Leader a letter making a generous offer. I extended a pledge of full cooperation in exchange for a suspension of Iran's nuclear program. The regime's answer was to continue their constant threats to their neighbors and U.S. interests throughout the region, and some great countries that are right nearby. Today, many of Iran's former military commanders, in fact, I can say almost all of them, are no longer with us. They're dead. And 3 months ago, in Operation Midnight Hammer, 7 American B-2 bombers dropped the 14 30,000-pound each bombs on Iran's key nuclear facilities, totally obliterating everything. No other country on earth could have done what we did. No other country has the equipment to do what we did. We have the greatest weapons on earth. We hate to use them.
Bro, my
But we
chair.
did something that
What are these noises it's
22
making?
years people wanted to do. With Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity demolished, I immediately brokered an end to the 12-day war, as it's called, between Israel and Iran, with both sides agreeing to fight no longer. As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas
You can
has
pick up the phone
repeatedly rejected
day.
reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we?
Hamas put a peace deal on the table, and Trump just has to accept. They agreed to disarm. They agreed to turn over every hostage. They agreed to a two-state solution. So what gives, Donald Trump? What gives? It was brought directly to the United States. No Israel involvement. God, and why is his half a brain cell still able to talk about October 7th? When wisping about Gaza. Is wisping a word? He's just like... Whenever he talks about Gaza, it's just empty flatulence. There's nothing to it.
Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to
Danny
unilaterally
Danon.
recognize a
They're not taking care of Israel's chairs very well, I guess.
Palestinian state.
Bro, that chair looks like your face, Danny Danon.
Rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they've taken so much, they have taken so much. This could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Just release the hostages now.
There's a peace deal on the table. They offered all the hostages. This means nothing.
Thank you.
This is the script
As we have got
to
to
prolong the
come
genocide.
together, and we will come together, get it done. We have to stop the war in Gaza immediately. We have to stop it. We have to get it done. We have to negotiate. Immediately have to negotiate peace. We got to get the hostages back. We want all 20 back. We don't want 2 and 4. As you know, I got, along with Steve Witkoff and others that helped us, Marco Rubio, we got most of them back. We were involved in all of them. But I always said the last 20 are going to be the hardest, and that's exactly what happened. We have to get them back now. We don't want to get back 2, and then another 2, and then 1, and then 3. Have this process. No, we want them all back, and we want the actually 38 dead bodies back too. Those parents came to me and they want them back, and they want them back very quickly and very badly, as though they were alive. They want them every bit as much as if their son.
Oh my
or brother
God,
were
get
alive.
to it.
I've also been working relentlessly, stopping the killing in Ukraine. I thought that would be, of the 7 wars that I stopped, I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one. I thought that was going to be the easiest one. But you know, in war, you never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad. Everyone thought Russia would win this war in 3 days. But it didn't work out that way. It was supposed to be just a quick little skirmish. It's not making Russia look good. It's making them look bad. No matter what happens from here on out, this was something that should have taken a matter of days, certainly less than a week. And they've been fighting for 3.5 years and killing anywhere.
Look at Ukraine.
From 5,000 to 7,000 young soldiers, mostly soldiers, on both sides, every single week. From 5,000 to 7,000 dead young.
Dude, Zelensky just looked like a little boy being scolded, even though he was talking shit about Russia.
Young people, and some in cities, much smaller numbers, where rockets are shot, where drones are dropped. This war would never have started if I were president. This was a war that should have never happened. It shows you what leadership is, what bad leadership can do to a country. Look what happened to the United States.
What bad leadership can do to Russia that makes them invade Ukraine? What?
Needlessly lost on both sides. China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves.
All oil money is
Who the hell ever heard of that
blood
one?
money anyway.
In the event
No
that
one
Russia
cares.
is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures. I mean, you're much closer to this. We have an ocean in between. You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia.
The Russian Federation is
Step it
just
up.
recording.
They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. They have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time. So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here. Sure, they're thrilled to hear me speak about it, but that's the way it is. I like to speak my mind and speak the truth. As we seek to reduce the threat of dangerous weapons today, I'm also calling on every nation to join us in ending the development of biological weapons once and for all. And biological is terrible, and nuclear is even beyond, and we include nuclear in that. We want to have a cessation of the development of nuclear weapons. We know, and I get to view it all the time. Sir, would you like to see? And I look at weapons that are so powerful,
Not the sure bit.
we just can't ever use them.
Sure.
If
I'm
we
coming
ever
to
use
you,
them,
sure.
the
Hat in
world literally might
hand.
come to an
Tears in
end.
my eyes, sir.
There would be no United Nations to be talking about. There would be no nothing. Just a few years ago, reckless experiments overseas gave us a devastating global
Oh, it looks like the
pandemic.
prompter's working again.
Yet despite that worldwide catastrophe, many countries are continuing extremely risky research into bioweapons and man-made pathogens. This is unbelievably dangerous. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are
The
being
number
ruined.
one issue of our
The
time
United
is the
Nations funding an
genocide.
assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that.
It's so fucking crazy that they're single-handedly responsible for the displacement of upwards of 1 million people, and they say that their number one issue is migration. That doesn't... You don't make that connection at all. Like, you can't just... I know they're on I know Palestine is on the other side of the world, but he doesn't care if the immigrants are coming from Mexico. They don't care where they're coming from. We will destroy, impoverish your country, and then you're not allowed to come here. Like, rogue nation.
That the UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way...
You're locking up and sending to Saicot American citizens
to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in. 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasion.
People either don't care about this or are halfway between bored and mortified at what he's saying.
To cause unmitigated crime and deplete our social safety net. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names, I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed.
Oh, yeah?
Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force.
Mexico doesn't even have his earpiece in. He's just like, what, they're talking about us?
Aliens are pouring into Europe.
This fucking loser is talking about us again.
Doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London where you have a terrible mayor, terrible.
This woman from Germany is... her face, dude.
Terrible mayor. And it's... I look at London where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor.
Halfway bored, halfway
so
mortified.
So changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe.
Ooh, Islamophobia
is not
at
done
the
immediately.
UN.
This cannot be sustained. What makes the world so beautiful is that each country is unique. But to stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now, and to limit the sheer numbers of migrants entering their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time.
I think you're gonna...
They put their blood...
drum up the fascist rally that you're hoping for here at the UN, Trump.
Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before with different customs, religions, with different everything. Where migrants have violated laws, lodged false asylum claims, or claimed refugee status for illegitimate reasons, they should, in many cases...
That's crazy talk to say that if you don't have a brutal fascist immigration policy, you just don't care about your country. You're not proud of your country. Like,
countries not create new problems in our countries.
Dick.
We are very helpful to a lot of countries that are just not able to send their people anymore. They used to send them to us in caravans of 25, 30,000 people each. These massive caravans of people pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. But not anymore. According to the Council of Europe in 2024, almost 50% of inmates in German prisons were foreign nationals or migrants. In Austria, the number was 53% of the people in prisons were from places that weren't from where they are now. In Greece, the number was 54%, and in Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland, 72% of the people in prisons are from outside of Switzerland. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did. They repaid kindness with crime. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. I can tell you.
Switzerland is like, look at the dude from
it's time
Switzerland.
To end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. I can tell.
Oh, look at that guy. Oh, not a hit with Switzerland. Not a hit with beautiful Switzerland. This dude cannot stop cheesing. He's the fluffer, I guess. And Marco Rubio, still looking dead inside. Still no pulse from Marco Rubio.
Tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
I'm really good at this stuff.
In America, we've taken bold
Did he
action to
just say
swiftly
that?
shut down uncontrolled migration. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore. This was a humanitarian act for all involved because on the trips up, thousands of people a week were dying. Women were being raped. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Raped, horribly beaten, raped. On the trip up, the
He
journey
said
up
raped
was a long,
3 times.
It was a long walk. It was a long, arduous
Fucking
journey.
chill,
Indeed.
dude.
It was also a historic victory against human trafficking throughout the region. What we did was a victory, and we saved so many lives of people that wouldn't make the journey. That journey was loaded up with death.
Is the
Loaded
prompter
up with
not
death.
working again?
Dead bodies all along the roads of jungles. You get up, they go through jungles, they go through areas so hot you couldn't breathe. They were dying of suffocation. Areas so hot that you couldn't breathe. Dead bodies all over.
When Trump gets briefed with intel, do they just like show him pictures and he just derives whatever narrative he wants from him?
By them not coming, we're saving tremendous numbers of lives. My people have done a fantastic job in doing what they did, and the American public agrees with it. I mean, I was very proud to see this morning I have the highest poll numbers I've ever had. Part of it is because of what we've done on the border. I guess the other part is what we've done on the economy. Joe Biden's policies empowered murderous gangs, human smugglers, child traffickers, drug cartels, and prisoners from all over the world. The previous administration also lost nearly 300,000 children. Think of that. They lost more than 300,000 children, little children, who were trafficked into the United States.
Remember, we're here to talk about Israel and Palestine and recognizing a Palestinian state. And he's here talking about, like, 90% of this has been how he's overcome the previous administration. When in reality, all he did was dismantle the most positive things about it.
And the mother and father rush to the door, and their tears in their eyes. They can't believe that they're seeing their son or daughter, their little son or
Tears in
daughter.
their
again.
eyes.
We've done almost
Just playing
30,000
all the
of
hits.
them so far. Any system that results in the mass trafficking of children is inherently evil. Yet that is exactly what the globalist migration agenda has done, and it's what it's all about. In America, those days, as you know, are over. The Trump administration is working, and we are continuing to work to track down the villains that are causing this problem, and also, as I said, to get back the 30,000 we've already returned. Now I think we're going to have another. We're going to find a lot. You're not going to find all of them. 300, more than 300,000. They're lost or they're dead. They're lost or they're dead because of the animals that did this. To protect our citizens, I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as
12 years of this motherfucker is a lot, man.
Let's put it this way. People don't like taking big loads of drugs in boats anymore. There aren't too many boats that are traveling on the seas by Venezuela. They tend not to want to travel very quickly anymore. And we've virtually stopped drugs coming into our country by sea. We call them the water drugs. They kill hundreds of thousands of people. I've also designated multiple
Drone-struck
savage
Venezuelan
drug cartels as far as foreign terrorist
fishing
organizations,
vessels.
along with two bloodthirsty transnational gangs, probably the worst gangs anywhere in the world, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua is from Venezuela, by the way.
Yeah,
Such
we know.
organizations torture, maim, mutilate, and murder with impunity. They're the enemies of all humanity. For this reason, we've recently begun using the supreme power of the United States military to destroy Venezuelan terrorists and trafficking networks led by Nicolas Maduro. To every terrorist thug smuggling poisonous drugs into the United States of America, please be warned that we will blow you out of existence. That's what we're doing. We have no choice.
Blow
Can't
you
let
out
it
of
happen. We're
existence?
I believe we lost 300,000 people last year to
He's
drugs.
gonna blow you,
300,000.
guys.
Fentanyl and other drugs. Each boat that we sink carries drugs that would kill more than 25,000 Americans. We will not let that happen. Energy is another area where the United States is now thriving like never before. We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables. By the way, they're a joke. They don't work. They're too expensive. They're not strong enough to fire up the plants that you need to make your country great. The wind doesn't blow. Those big windmills are so pathetic and so bad. So
He's talking about
expensive to
windmills
operate.
now. At the
They have to
UN,
be
he's
rebuilt
talking
all the
about
time.
windmills.
Rust and rot.
Fuck.
Most expensive energy ever conceived, and it's actually energy. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. You lose money, the governments have to subsidize. You can't put them out without massive subsidies. And most of them are built in China, and I give China a lot of credit. They build them, but they very few wind farms. So
Okay, even if you could steel man this and say that he's trying to talk about climate and the practical applications of certain energy technologies, okay, it's still under the framework of specifically the United States. Like, these problems with wind farms all has to do with misunderstandings and regulations within the United States. No one here at the UN is under any misconception about windmills, bro. That's you. Bro does not know how to read the room.
why is it that they build them and they send them all over the world, but they barely use them? You know what they use? Coal. They use gas. They use almost anything, but they don't like wind. But they sure as hell like selling the windmills. Europe, on the other hand, has a long way to go, with many countries being on the brink of destruction.
Yeah, doesn't China have a lot of windmills? China is the global leader in wind energy and installed more than 56 gigawatts of new wind turbines in 2022 alone.
Because of the green energy agenda, and I give a lot of credit to Germany. Germany was being led down a very sick path, both on immigration, by the way, and on energy. They were going green, and they were going bankrupt. And the new leadership came in, and they went back to where they were, with fossil fuel and with nuclear, which is good. It's now safe. You can do it properly. But they went back to where they were, and they opened up a lot of different plants, energy-producing plants, and they're doing well. I give Germany a lot of credit for that. They've said this is a disaster, what's happening. They were going all green. All green is all bankrupt. That's what it represents. And it's
all
not politically
green,
correct. I'll be
bankrupt
very badly
plants.
criticized for saying it, but I'm here to tell the truth. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
The green
I'm in New York
plants are
City.
bankrupt.
I'm feeling a lot safer. Crime, we're getting crime down. And by the way,
And now
speaking
we're
of
on to crime.
Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. was the crime capital of America. Now it's a totally, after 12 days, it's a totally safe city. Everyone's going out to dinner. They're going out to restaurants. Your wife can walk down the middle of the street with or without you. Nothing's going to happen. My people have done a fantastic job. And yes, I called business, and they weren't politically correct, but they took care of business. We got 1,700 career criminals out, brought them back to where they came from, the countries where they came from, or put them in jails. Washington, D.C. is now a totally safe city again, and I welcome you to come. In fact, we'll have dinner together at a local restaurant, and we'll be able to walk. We don't have to go by an armor-plated vehicle. We'll walk right over there from the White House. They've given up their powerful edge, a lot of the countries that we're talking about, in oil and gas, such as essentially closing the great North Sea oil. Oh, the North Sea, I know it so well. Aberdeen was the oil capital of Europe, and there's tremendous oil that hasn't been found in the North Sea. Tremendous oil. And I was with the Prime Minister I respect and like a lot, and I said, you're sitting with the greatest asset. They essentially closed it by making it so highly taxed that no developer, no oil company can go there. They have tremendous oil left, and more importantly, they have tremendous oil that hasn't even been found yet. And what a tremendous asset for the United Kingdom. And I hope the Prime Minister is listening, because I told it to him 3 days in a row. That's all he heard. North Sea oil, North Sea, because I want to see them do well. I want to stop seeing them ruining that beautiful Scottish and English countryside with windmills and massive solar panels that go 7 miles by 7 miles, taking away farmland. But we're not letting this happen in America. In 1982, the executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program predicted that by the year 2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible as any nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail. I'm the President of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy catastrophe before it's too late. The carbon footprint is a hoax made by people with evil intentions, and they're heading down a path of total destruction. You know, the carbon footprint was a big, big thing.
Wow, the carbon footprint is a
I remember hearing
hoax.
about the carbon footprint, and then President Obama would get into Air Force One, a massive Boeing 747.
Ridiculous,
and not a new one,
man.
an old one with old engines that spew everything into the atmosphere. He'd talk about the carbon footprint, we must do something. Then he'd get in and he'd fly from Washington to Hawaii to play a round of golf. And then he'd get back onto that big, beautiful plane and he'd fly back and he'd talk about, again, global warming and the carbon footprint. It's a con job. At extreme cost and expense, Europe reduced its own carbon
Oh,
footprint by
you don't want to get criticized
37%.
for
Think of that. Congratulations,
just
Europe.
flying
Great
over
job. Cost yourself a lot
to
of jobs,
Hawaii or
a lot of
whatever to
factories
play golf.
closed, but you reduced the carbon footprint by 37%. However,
Fucking
for all of that
loser.
sacrifice and much more, it's been totally wiped out and then some by a global increase of 54%. Much of it coming from China and other countries that are thriving around China, which now produces more CO2 than all the other developed nations in the world. So all of these countries are working so hard on the carbon footprint, which is nonsense, by the way. It's nonsense. You know, it's interesting. In the United States, we have still radicalized environmentalists, and they want the factories to stop. Everything should stop. No more cows. We don't want cows anymore. I guess they want to kill all the cows. They want to do things that are just unbelievable. And you have
They want to kill all the cows.
But you know, we have a border, strong, and we have a shape, and that shape doesn't just go straight up. That shape is amorphous when it comes to the atmosphere. And if we had the most clean air, and I think we
It's
do.
the first time I'd ever
very
heard
clean
Trump
air, with
say
the cleanest air we've had
amorphous.
in many, many years. But the problem is that other countries, like China, which has air that's a little bit rough, it blows. And no matter what you're doing down here, the air up here
This
tends to get
blows.
very dirty because it comes in from other countries where their air isn't so clean. And the environmentalists refuse to acknowledge that. Same thing with garbage. In Asia, they dump much of their garbage right into the ocean. And over about a 1 week and 2 week journey, it flows right past Los Angeles. You've seen it. Massive amounts of garbage, almost too much to do anything about. Flowing past Los Angeles, past San Francisco.
This is embarrassing, dog.
And then
Look at my
somebody will get in
president,
trouble
man.
because he dropped a cigarette on the beach. The whole thing is crazy. The primary effect of these brutal green energy policies has not been to help the environment, but to redistribute manufacturing and industrial activity from developed countries that follow the insane rules that are put down to polluting countries that break the rules and are making a fortune. They're making a fortune. European electricity bills are now 4 to 5 times more expensive than those in China. and 2 to 3 times higher than the United States. And our bills are coming way down. You probably see that our gasoline prices are way down. You know, we have an expression, drill.
Yeah, but Americans all across the country, their energy bills are up because of all the unregulation around data centers. So spare me with the average American is able to afford their lives. This shit's goofy.
Nós reduzimos os custos de energia porque nós faremos vamos fazer tudo isso, reduzir os custos de energia e os custos diminuíram nos Estados Unidos.
Common to see one.
Por exemplo, se você olhar
Electric costs
nos países em
approximately
faturas de energia,
100 heat-related deaths.
nós não mas nós nos Estados Unidos conseguimos usar eles e evitar aumento da temperatura, porque é muito caro também usar nado e ninguém usa
Pretending to stop the global
tudo isso.
hoax. The
A
of asking industrialized nations,
esse agenda mundialista não tem nenhum sentido.
entire societies must be rejected
País
and it must be immediate. That's why in America I withdrew from the fake Paris Climate Accord.
The only thing
Where, by the way,
leftist
America
about
was
this
paying
is the
so much
audio,
more
I
than every
guess.
country. Others weren't paying. China didn't have to pay until 2030. Russia was given an old standard that was easy to meet, 1990 standard. But for the United States, we're supposed to pay like $1 trillion. And I said, this is another scam. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed. I unleashed massive energy production and signed historic executive orders to hunt for oil, but we don't have to do much hunting because we have the most oil of any nation anywhere, oil and gas in the world. And if you add coal, we have the most of any nation in the world. Clean, I call it clean, beautiful coal. You can do things today with coal that you couldn't have done 10 years ago.
God,
15
fucking
years.
oxymoron,
So I have a little
clean,
standing
beautiful
order in the
coal.
White House. Never use the word coal, only use the words clean, beautiful coal. Sounds much better, doesn't it? But we stand ready to provide any country with abundant, affordable energy supplies if you need them, when most of you do. We're proudly exporting energy all over the world. We're now the largest exporter. In the United States, we want trade and robust commerce with all nations, everybody. We want to help nations. We're going to help nations. But it must also be fair and reciprocal. The challenge with trade is much the same with climate. The countries that followed the rules, all their factories have been plundered. It's really sad to watch. They've been broken. They've been broken by countries that broke the rules. That's why the United States is now applying tariffs to other countries, and much as these tariffs were for many years applied to us, uncontrollably applied to us. We've used tariffs as a defense mechanism under the Trump administration, including my first term, where hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs were taken in. And by the way, we had the lowest
Weaponized
inflation, and now we have very
them
low
mostly
inflation.
to the detriment
only
of
thing
the
different is that
average
we have hundreds of
American.
billions of dollars flowing into our country. But this is how we will ensure that the system works for everyone and is sustainable into the future. We're also using tariffs to defend our sovereignty and security throughout the world, including against nations that have taken advantage of former U.S. administrations for decades, including the most corrupt, incompetent administration in history, the sleepy Joe Biden administration.
The whining,
Brazil now
bro.
faces major tariffs in response to its unprecedented efforts
Bro
to
thinks he's
interfere
at a
in the rights and
campaign
freedoms
rally.
of our American citizens and others, with censorship, repression,
I swear he's
weaponization,
got
judicial
one
corruption,
mode.
and targeting of political critics in the United States. I have a little problem saying this because I must tell you, I was walking in and the leader of Brazil was walking out. We saw him and I saw him, he saw me, and we embraced. And then I'm saying, can you believe I'm going to be saying this in just 2 minutes? But we actually agreed that we would meet next
What the
week.
fuck?
This in just 2 minutes. He saw me and we was walking in and the leader of Brazil was walking out. We saw him and I saw him, he saw me, and we embraced. And then I'm saying, can you believe I'm going to be saying this in just 2 minutes? But we actually agreed that we would meet next week. We didn't have much time to talk, like about 20 seconds. They were in retrospect, I'm glad I waited because this thing didn't work out too well. But we did talk, we had a good talk, and we agreed to meet next week, if that's of interest. But he seemed like a very nice man, actually. He liked me, I liked him. But if you, and I only do business with people I like. When I don't like them, I don't like them. but we had, at least for about 39 seconds, we had excellent chemistry. It's a good sign. But also in the past, Brazil,
Zesty,
can you believe
spicy.
this? Unfairly tariffed our nation, but now because of our tariffs, we are hitting them back, and we're hitting them back very hard. As president, I will always defend our national sovereignty and the rights
Let me
of
say there
American
was a tremendous spark
citizens.
between
So,
us.
I'm very sorry to say this, that Brazil is doing poorly and will continue to do poorly. They can only do well when they're working with us. Without us, they will fail, just as others have failed. It's true. Next year, the United States will celebrate the 250th anniversary of our glorious independence.
Wait, who will fail without us?
Citizens, so I will always defend our national sovereignty, and we're hitting it back very hard. As president, we tariffed our nation, but now because of our tariffs, we in the past, Brazil, can you believe this? Unfairly tariffed our nation, but now because of our tariffs, we are hitting them back, and we're hitting it back very hard. As president, I will always defend our national sovereignty and the rights of American citizens. So I'm very sorry to say this, that Brazil is doing poorly and will continue to do poorly. They can only do well when they're working with us. Without us, they will fail, just as others have failed. It's true. Next year, the United States will celebrate the 250th anniversary of our glorious independence, a testament to enduring power and American freedom and spirit. We will also be proudly hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and shortly thereafter the 2028 Olympics, which is going to be very exciting. I hope you all come. I hope that countless people from all over the globe will take part of these will be great celebrations of liberty and human achievement, and that together we...
Anyway, your countries suck. We're looking for oil. Climate change isn't real. Gaza, what are you gonna do? Anyway, I'm having a party at my place. We're playing soccer. You want to come? I hope you come.
We all can rejoice in the miracles of history that began in July 4th, 1776, when we founded the light to all nations. And it's something really that an amazing thing came out of that date. It's called the United States of America. In honor of this momentous anniversary, I hope that all countries who find inspiration in our example will join us in renewing our commitment, values, and those values really that we hold so dear together. Let us defend free speech and free expression. Let us protect religious liberty, including for the most persecuted religion on the planet today. It's called Christianity. And let us safeguard our sovereignty and cherish qualities that have made each of our nations so special, incredible, and extraordinary. In closing, I just want to repeat that immigration and the high cost of so-called green renewable energy is destroying a large part of the free world and a large part of our planet. Countries that cherish freedom are fading fast because of their policies on these two subjects. You need strong borders and traditional energy sources if you are going to be great again. Whether you have come from north or south, east or west, near or far, every leader,
there's money in Christ,
a rich culture, a noble history, and a proud heritage that makes each nation else in human history or any other place on the face of the earth. From London to Lima, from Rome to Athens, from Paris to Seoul, from Cairo to Tokyo and Amsterdam to right here in New York City, we stand on the shoulders of the leaders and legends, generals and giants, heroes and titans who won and built our beloved nations, all of our nations, with their own courage, strength, spirit, and skill. Our ancestors climbed mountains, conquered oceans, crossed deserts, and trekked over wide open plains. They charged into thunderous battles, plunged into grave dangers, and they were soldiers and farmers and workers and warriors and explorers and patriots. They built towns into cities, tribes into kingdoms, ideas into industries, and small islands into mighty empires. You're a part of all of that. They were champions for their people who never gave up and who never, ever gave in. Their values defined our national identities. Their visions forged our magnificent destiny. Everybody in this room is a part of it in your own way. Each of us inherits the deeds and the myths, the triumphs, the legacies of our own heroes and founders who so bravely showed us the way. Our ancestors gave everything for homelands that they defended with pride, with sweat, with blood, with life, and with death. Now the righteous task of protecting the nations that they built belongs to each and every one of us. So together let us uphold our sacred duty to our people and to our citizens. Let us protect their borders, ensure their safety, preserve their cultures, treasure, and traditions, and fight, fight, fight for their precious dreams and their cherished freedoms. And in friendship and really a beautiful vision, let us all work together to build a bright, beautiful planet, a planet that we all share, a planet of peace and a world that is richer, better, and more beautiful than ever before. That can happen. It will happen. It will happen, and I hope it can happen and start right now, right at this moment. We'll turn it around. We're going to make our countries better, safer, more beautiful. We're going to take care of our people. Thank you very much. It's been an honor. God bless the nations of the world. Thank you very much. Bye.
And out of all, in all seriousness, that vision will be worked on together by nations of the world, not including the United States. The United States will not be included in reversing climate change. You just said it was a hoax. I mean, if anything is done to save this planet, it will be despite the United States' involvement. Very disappointing. But not at all surprising. Wow. Have you ever seen someone clap with such dead eyes? With eyes more dead and glazed over than Marco fucking Rubio? Look at him. Soulless piece of shit.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the United States.
Boy, it is much noisier in that room following Trump than it was following Lula. Holy shit. Ugh. 5 likes. Maybe they're taking an intermission or something. A recess, if you will. What does the bell mean? The Japanese peace bell? Chat? Must be a call to order or something. Just gave the bell to her.
Please be seated. Please be seated.
Guess it's plural. AI is not helpful. Anyway, I'll probably just call it there. I'm not gonna watch anything else, but dude.
Excellencies, could you please take your seats in due respect to the next speakers? The second row, could you please take your seat right now?
Damn. The place is I mean, it's pandemonium. I don't think there's supposed to be that much bell ringing and gavel hitting in between.
Please take a seat now. With due respect to the next speakers, I would kindly ask you, gentlemen in the left row, please take your seats. We will continue.
Wow, bro. So many people leaving.
Excellencies, as we are receiving queries, I would like to assure you that don't worry, the UN teleprompters are working perfectly. And by this technical note, I would like to call on the next speaker. The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Prabowo Subianto, President of the Republic of Indonesia. I request protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the Assembly.
His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Her Excellency, Madame Annalena Baerbock, President of the United Nations General Assembly, His Excellency, Mr. Moses Abelian, Under Secretary General for General Assembly
quiet.
and Management, Excellencies, Heads of States, Heads of Governments, distinguished delegates, ladies and
So
gentlemen.
disrespectful.
It is indeed a great honor for me to stand in this august General Assembly Hall among leaders and representatives who represent almost all of humanity. We differ in race, religion, and nationality.
This is
Yet
sad.
we gather together today as one human family. We are here first and foremost as fellow human beings, each created equal, endowed with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The words of the United Nations Declaration of Independence have inspired democratic movements across continents, including the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the Mexican Revolution, the Chinese Revolution, and Indonesia's own struggle and journey to freedom. It also gave birth to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations in 1948.
Is it gonna pan
All
over to the
men
people
are
walking
created
out?
equal was the creed that opened the way to unprecedented global prosperity and dignity. And yet, in our own era of scientific and technological triumphs, an era capable of ending hunger, poverty, and environmental ruin, we also continue to face today grave dangers, challenges, and uncertainties. Human folly, fueled by fear, racism, hatred, oppression, and apartheid, threatens our common future. My country knows.
Look at everybody still moving around. So many empty seats now.
This pain. For centuries, Indonesians lived under colonial domination, oppression,
All right.
and slavery.
I'm gonna start
We
my
were
daily
treated
stream
less
here.
than dogs in our own homeland. We Indonesians know what it means to be denied justice and what it means to live in apartheid, to live in poverty, and to be denied equal opportunity. We also knew what solidarity can do in our struggle for independence, in our fight to overcome hunger, disease, and poverty. The United Nations stood with Indonesia and gave us vital assistance. Decisions made here based on human solidarity by the Security Council and this Assembly gave Indonesia independence, international legitimacy, opened doors, and supported our early development through the efforts of the United Nations Children Fund.